Did you know that Trump is going to impose a 200% tariff on John Deere's products being sold in the U.S.? John Deere has been a name tied to the U.S. farming industry for over a century. However, the company planned to make some major changes that many, including Donald Trump, didn't like. As a result, Trump threatened to impose a 200% tariff if John Deere decided to go with the new plans. Now the question is, why would Trump take such a step? And what's John Deere's response to it? Let's take a closer look and understand what John Deere actually did. So, back in June 2024, John Deere revealed plans to move certain production lines to its factories in Mexico. This decision brought about a massive reaction, especially from Donald Trump. He strongly disagreed with this move and took things beyond criticism by saying, "I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything you want to sell into the United States." John Deere planned to spend $55 million to build a brand new factory in Ramos Arizpe, Mexico. This exciting project is expected to start running in 2026. It will make compact loaders and mid-frame skid steer loaders. These machines are beneficial for smaller farms and construction projects. Some people are worried about how this will impact workers in Dubuque, Iowa. But John Deere never shared how many jobs might be affected. But why is John Deere doing this? Well, the company explained that making things in the U.S. has become more expensive, which is why they made this decision. So, why did John Deere choose Mexico over any other country? There are many reasons for this. The first reason is the pool of skilled workers in Mexico. The country has a large workforce experienced in manufacturing, which ensures high-quality production. Additionally, Mexico's location is a big advantage. Being close to North and South America makes it easier and faster for John Deere to ship equipment to important markets like Brazil and Argentina. These countries have rapidly growing farming industries and need more modern machinery to boost their productivity. Another major factor is the cost of labor. On average, workers in Mexican factories earn about 70% less than their counterparts in the U.S. This insane difference helps John Deere produce equipment at a much lower cost. Competitiveness also plays a significant role. Companies like Kubota from Japan and Mahindra from India already operate at lower costs. So the only way for John Deere to stay competitive is by reducing production costs. Another reason for building the plant in Mexico is to help John Deere make and deliver its products better. Ports in the U.S. can get really crowded, and sometimes it's hard for factories in the U.S. to find enough workers to keep up with demand. John Deere thought of resolving these issues by opening a factory in Mexico. This new plant will help make more machines and get them shipped out faster. As we said earlier, small tractors and loaders are super popular among the small and mid-sized farms. So this decision will allow the company to make these machines in greater numbers. This way, John Deere can meet customer needs without adding extra work to its other factories. As you can see, there are several solid reasons why John Deere is shutting down its USA branches and moving to Mexico. So far, everything might seem like good news for John Deere. However, these new plans didn't appeal to many, including Donald Trump, so he has threatened to impose 200% tariffs on John Deere's products. But why is this bothering Trump so much? Well, Trump believes that American companies should not move jobs to other countries, no matter what. He has always talked about keeping jobs in the U.S., and John Deere's decision to move part of its production to Mexico goes against that idea. This decision has made Trump unhappy because it is totally against his goal of protecting American jobs and workers. For Trump, it feels less like a business decision and more like a personal attack. He sees it as an insult to the country, and more importantly, to the workers who were always there to support. These workers trust Trump to help keep jobs in the U.S., and now a well-known American company is expanding its production outside the country. For Trump, this decision sends a message that challenges his promise to protect American workers. Here we want to share that this is not the first time we've seen Trump coming up with some crazy decisions. For example, in 2018, he started a wave of tariffs, beginning with steel and aluminum, which set off trade disputes with allies and rivals. Then, he added a 25% tariff on $250 billion worth of goods from China. This kicked off a trade war that went on for years. These decisions were supposed to protect American industries, but things didn't exactly go as planned. manufacturers and farmers struggled because the prices for parts and materials went up. On top of that, countries like China fought back with their own tariffs, making it harder to export U.S. goods like soybeans, pork, and farming equipment. A study by the Federal Reserve in 2019 showed how this trade war cost over 300,000 American jobs, while also causing significant disruptions in supply chains. A few industries saw some short-term benefits, but the long-term impact wasn't so clear. Now, with John Deere being the hot topic, Trump seems to be doubling down on a familiar strategy. He claims that tariffs brought big investments to the U.S., such as auto plants and tech companies, and says the country is stronger today because of them. But the John Deere situation isn't easy to figure out. This company is an important part of American farming, especially in the Midwest. That's an area where a lot of Trump's supporters live. Speaking out against John Deere might get some voters excited, but it also makes people think about losing jobs if the company decides to make changes. So, what's John Deere's response to all this? You'll be shocked to know that the company isn't staying quiet or backing down. They didn't even try to smooth things over with an apology or change their plans when Trump threatened a huge 200% tariff on their products made in Mexico. Instead, John Deere stood its ground. They explained that expanding to Mexico wasn't about abandoning American workers. Instead, the plan was about staying alive in a challenging global market. John Deere was clear about the details. Only about 5% of their North American production is being shifted to the new facility in Mexico. The majority of their large machines will still be produced in key U.S. factories, particularly in Iowa and Illinois. Their executives clarified that rising costs in the U.S., supply chain problems, and competition from international companies meant they couldn't afford to stay still. Expanding into Mexico was a business decision meant to keep the company strong, not to turn its back on America. The company now operates in a global market where tough choices must be made for survival. Yes, some critics accuse John Deere of ignoring public sentiment and rural voters, but others thought their decision was forward-thinking. Bloomberg experts noted that John Deere's growth will rely more on places like Latin America and Asia in the future, instead of just focusing on the U.S. Investors seem to agree on this because the company's stock bounced back quickly despite a slight dip after Trump's comments. So in the entire situation, John Deere proved that bold political statements should never hold back a well-planned business strategy. There was a question of whether politics can control what private companies do. People talked a lot about trade rules and jobs being lost, but there was an even bigger issue to think about: technology. Automation is changing industries really quickly, and even important leaders like Trump can't stop it from happening. According to a report by Oxford Economics, robots could replace up to 20 million manufacturing jobs by 2030. Now, that's a significant number. But here's the thing: Trump often promises to bring back American factory jobs. However, this promise doesn't align with the reality of a company like John Deere. Even if all of Deere's factories moved back to the United States, automation would ensure that machines, rather than humans, do most of the work. Modern factories today depend on robots that are faster, more efficient, and more cost-effective than human labor. These machines don't require breaks, insurance, or time off, which gives them a massive advantage over human workers. This means that American workers compete against labor from other countries, and with advanced robotics, right on their own soil. Besides the factories, farming itself is also evolving. John Deere is heavily investing in cutting-edge technologies to remain at the top of the industry. Their new self-driving tractors, powered by GPS, artificial intelligence, and cameras, are capable of operating 24/7 without needing a driver. Drones now do tasks like watching over crops and spraying them. Electric and hybrid tractors are also becoming popular, especially with young farmers who care about the environment. Companies like Monarch Tractor are creating futuristic machines that don't look like the usual tractors. John Deere sees where farming is heading and is putting money into innovative tools, eco-friendly machines, and AI to keep up. Companies that don't keep up with these changes could get left behind. All these are the reasons why John Deere decided to shut down some of their US-based factories and move production to Mexico. So, this was everything about John Deere's shift from the USA to Mexico. Let us know in the comments what you think is the reason behind John Deere's decision. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up to show us some support. And don't forget to subscribe, because we'll be bringing you the latest updates on the automotive industry and much more. Goodbye.